Hello to each of you and welcome to the Zander channel once again. Here I help people get out of their heads and establish and maintain coherence to our heart. Even if you're a man, everything vibrates. Everything has a frequency. The universe, the earth, you, your words, your feelings, such as hatred and love, diseases such as cancer, even money has a vibration. You can change your vibration with your thoughts and feelings. This is my path to happiness, joy, and love, and I invite you to subscribe and join me in this journey towards peace, joy, and happiness. And in this video, we are talking of a case for mind mastery. Bioelectric fields and evidence of morphogenetic field, which is called the mind, govern biology and reality. Bioelectricity, morphology, electroceuticals, and the electricity of life itself. Now, for ages, mystics and philosophers, prophets, have declared mind or consciousness as the prima materia of the universe, one of the original substances that gives rise to all else. Consciousness is so essential to experience and yet remains one of the greatest mysteries of modern times. Mind, as defined by the ancients, is consciousness itself. More than just logic, reason, or mind chatter, it's an order maker, bringing coherence to chaos and life to the unliving. Although mainstream science has failed to discover what the ancients long knew, other pioneers have begun to recognize its power, albeit indirectly. The way in which life organizes a physical body is one such example, as researchers have previously discovered. The electric universe theory is the study of phenomena, whether the very small or the very large, governed by the premise that the physical cosmos itself is fundamentally electric in nature. This field of study, although completely dismissed by the majority of mainstream scientists, provides breathtaking insights into the nature of material reality, where gravity comes from, how the solar system and atoms are actually governed, and even the nature of consciousness. It's amazing that scientists are first taught in school to be objective and to take everything into account, and then once they get into the field of study, they're bound by previous scientific findings, which were only theories. If you disprove a theory, you should be commended. If you had a theory, you will be commended. And later on, if that theory is proven false, then so be it. That's that's what science is supposed to be about. Anyways, stop that rant. Another researcher, Rupert Sheldrake, prefers that the theory of morphic fields and resonance, now that is, the non-material forces that govern the mind. Morphogenic fields, also something posited by Sheldrake, suggested that biological expression, or the morphology or shape of a living thing takes, seems to be similarly governed by electrical processes. Now, according to Sheldrake and several others, like Bruce Lipton, Dr. Joe Dispenza, Dewey B. Larson, Greg Braden, many more, suggest that the mind and electrical interactions are intimately linked. While the nature of mind and consciousness is little understood, especially within the fields of study obstinately tasked with divining its true nature, there is a wealth of evidence to suggest life and consciousness is a field phenomenon. Phantom pain associated with an amputated limb is one such indication, right? Similarly, electrical and magnetic fields affect the formation of living tissues. Briefly, electromagnetic interactions are dynamic in nature, meaning that they're constantly in flow and flux, an ever-moving river of energy at the smallest imaginable scale. Right, microcosmic interactions are holistically integrated with the macrocosm, as the emergence of life at any given point on the Earth is influenced by the geomagnetic field, which in turn is influenced by the Sun or the Earth system, which in turn is influenced by the local star cluster, which is influenced by the galaxy, and so on and so forth. infinity and beyond. Now, in this sense, life is a cosmic emanation or a property of cosmic influences, precisely as the visionary Rudolf Steiner suggested. Even mainstream science has admitted that electricity seems to play a part in the formation of fundamental biological components that make up living things. And astronomers have also detected complex organic material throughout the known universe. DNA seems to act as a dual inflowing and outpouring antenna. It receives information from without and radiates information from within. Consciousness, mind by any other name, seems to act on the material world through the agency of electricity, giving order to chaos and producing life in the process. This is a possibility when some creatures who have the capacity to regrow limbs can do so. Now, there is an energetic or electrical field interaction that acts as a guide for the more subtle activities of materials in the body, like cells and proteins and tissues and so on. These living electrical fields seem to provide a framework for the material aspect of the body to build structures. Now, Fritz Albert Popp is a biophysicist researcher who discovered that living cells emit and absorb what he calls biophotons. They're highly coherent and stable energy units containing information. Now, this information seems to be instrumental in the maintenance of living tissues. While under stress, cells release more biophotonic light, suggesting that their intercellular communication is increasing. But, what in the world could these little tiny units of life that make up our body be talking about when exchanging these biophotons? Given the study of the embryology and the pioneering body of research termed German New Medicine, as a body enters into a fear state, various biological programs are activated, stimulating the production of tissues that are meant to assist the organism in overcoming some sort of threat. For example, during certain conflict active phases, the lungs can produce more alveoli or air sacs, so that more oxygen can be absorbed by the body for use in dealing with an existing crisis. Upon resolution of the crisis, the emission of biophotons decreased and the excess of tissue is reabsorbed, accompanied by what GNM calls healing symptoms. Now, according to GNM, these physiological processes are governed by the psyche, or the mind, which is the same essential premise asserted by Sheldrake, Lipton, Dispenza, and many others. Now, what this suggests is that mind or consciousness, if you prefer that term, is a priori or comes before material organization. That is, the mind or animating feature of life is at a precondition, not a posteriori feature, which is something that comes after. So, in other words, life is not the random assembly of material that sometimes produces coherent structures or bodies and behaviors, which is consciousnesses, as mainstream science absolutely asserts. The opposite is actually the truth. That is, consciousness is not the byproduct of matter, but matter is the byproduct of consciousness. Biological life is the consequence of a living field, or a divine field as Dispenza calls it, which governs the behavior of living things. Ancient Hermetic philosophers, to name one out of a litany of sources of antiquity, has long asserted that mind is primordial to matter and the physical realms, or the matrix. Walter Russell, a mystic genius from the early 20th century, who inspired Nikola Tesla, and many others, asserted that the living mind of the Creator is still magnetic light, given dynamic form by pressure differentials in polarized swirling electrical fields generated by conscious thought and attention. Simply put, awareness, or the receptive inflowing cathode-like or feminine aspect of consciousness, and the will, which is the active outflowing anode-like or masculine aspect of consciousness. where they come together and form a union of order we recognize as life. In the physical realms, this life takes on a fractal form as energy systems produce extreme coherence or order. In the mental realms, life takes on coherence of logic and reason along with emotion and feelings, giving rise to insight, creativity, and sense making thoughts. Rupert Sheldrake's assertion that living things engage in a kind of telepathy with varying degrees of information transmission is further confirmed by the work of Dr. Michael Persinger. And also check out my Schumann Resonance video 101 and 201. Dr. Persinger, who helped invent the infamous God helmet along with Stanley Coren, theorized that the influence of a coherent magnetic field on intermind communication, as demonstrated by experiments by Dr. Persinger, conducted with famous remote viewer Ingo Swann, suggests that mind is not localized within the body, although it's responsive to it. Going even further, this suggests that magnetic fields not only allow information to be exchanged between the minds in a way mainstream science does not fully understand, but that the field also stores information in a kind of global mind memory system, the collective consciousness of humanity. By the way, CIA and other like world corporations invest billions with a B, of dollars each year into these projects. And they're documented at least as far back as 1950 and probably before that. And what's more, various secretive military industrial complex projects have already developed advanced electromagnetic devices capable of influencing the body-mind system, transmitting voices, images, and feelings, and even memory augmentations. All of this suggests that consciousness is far more instrumental to reality and its dynamics than what mainstream science has dared to admit. A lot of it's top secret, especially when you're talking about CIA, right? And other organizations the worldwide that probably were in existence before the CIA. This also implies that when a mind develops the capacity to auto-organize, it can inform the fields and not just be controlled by it. In other words, self-directed evolution can occur. The greater an organism's coherence, the greater its capacity to impart coherence to the outer world by way of entrainment. Based on available research, owing to individuals who've gained a measurable measure of mind mastery, one can develop an internal dynamic coherence producing a strong consciousness signal, for lack of a better term, that can actually override deleterious electromagnetic fields, especially electrosmog and electromagnetic weaponry. Consciousness seems to be the greatest tool ever placed in the hands of humankind, but due to various ideological setbacks, this tool of tools has been largely dismissed and unimportant or even non-existent, according to the church and many other organizations that need to keep you a slave. But yeah. And even those who do recognize that all pervading power of consciousness can sometimes be persuaded to think that mind is their enemy instead of their ally. However, there is a growing body of researchers or truth seekers and practitioners who are abandoning this materialistic viewpoint and have gained immeasurable governing power over their own being. I warn you, whoever you are. You wish to probe the arcanes of nature. If you do not find within yourself that which what you seek, neither you should be able to find it outside. If you ignore the excellencies of your own house, how do you intend to find the other's excellencies? In you is hidden the treasure of treasures. O man, know thyself, and thou shalt know the universe and the gods. This is a phrase inscribed in the ancient temple of Delphi. It seems that science, spirituality, and life experience itself all points to the development of consciousness. the mastery of mind, and the self as the greatest thing anyone can do to empower themselves into gaining some sort of purpose or a prosperous life, which is probably why you're here looking at this channel. Now, in order to tap into the all-organizing power of the mind, one needs to develop a real practice of self-mastery. This seems to be greatly assisted by a holistic and eclectic viewpoint on reality. That is, the greater one's capacity to become aware of information or open-mindedness, organize it coherently in singular knowledge, and act within it, which is wisdom, the more powerful that person's mind can organize their reality, whether biological, mental, emotional, or spiritual. In other words, what we choose to do with our time greatly impacts the order we give our lives, or give to our lives. If one denies that they have this power, if they believe that they're actually a victim of external reality instead of its conductor, then they will never develop these essential life organizing skills. But if one were to dare to believe that they can accomplish almost anything, if they start their mind to it, seemingly all things are possible. How is it that one person can be a billionaire, self-made, yet there you are working your job, just over broke? How is that possible? They sell drugs. They sold people. They had some help. Yeah, they had help. Nikola Tesla had help from the other side, through his mind. Now, in this sense, the lives we live are not unlike a ship cast adrift on the seas of experience. Those who find the time to learn how to raise the sails, steer the rudder, and plot a proper course will navigate the ocean of uncertainty with ease. Think on that. Stop blaming the external for an internal problem. The answer is inside, not out. Smash that like button, subscribe below if you learned something, agreed, or found this interesting. Comment below to ask an educated question that you want the answer to. And if you love this sexy face, hit that notification bell for my next postings herein. And of course, as always, a couple ideas. The future of medicine will be the medicine of frequencies. Albert Einstein. No disease, including cancer, can exist in an alkaline environment. Dr. Otto Warburg, 1931 Nobel Prize winner for the discovery of cancer. And why are you taking medical and health advice from people who have a vested monetary interest when you're diseased? I love you all. You take care of yourselves. You have a blessed day.